actually feel kind of nervous recording this. I don't know why. I just want to live as authentically and honest as possible, and I feel like the more honest you are, you don't have to be afraid of anything. I think shame only comes from secrecy and hiding things, and I think the more that you can voice your experience, the more people feel like they're not alone in anything that's going on with their life. So let's go. I grew up in a pretty religious household, and so it was never a question for me whether I should like boys or girls. It was just boys. It's just always the way that it had been. And so of course, growing up, I had some, crushes on guys, and it wasn't really because I was emotionally attracted to them or felt ever connected to them. It was just, I felt they were hot, and I felt like they were physically attractive, but I didn't actually feel anything other than, oh wow, they look really good. The same way you'd like look at a painting and be like, wow, that's a really beautiful painting. I'd be like, wow, that's a really beautiful specimen. But I didn't really feel anything deep about it. And when I was kissing guys, it always just kind of felt like two lips touching, and really that was it. I didn't feel any sparks, any electricity. It was just, it was what it was. As religious as it was, I thought it was so weird when my girlfriends would talk to me and tell me that they were struggling so hard with temptation, trying to stay clean and not have sex with their boyfriends. I never ever felt that. So I was like, I guess you just must be a whore. And I know that sounds so bad to say, but really truly that's how I felt is, well, I'm not having these feelings, and so if you're having those feelings, then there's probably something wrong with you. I know, you don't have to tell me how that sounds. I already know. So, since sexual attraction was never really something that fueled my desire to date a guy, usually I would choose guys who I felt like I could connect with as emotionally as possible, which again wasn't super easy because I felt like I just didn't have that kind of connection between guys. So typically that led to me dating guys who were so much older than me. I'm talking 10, 12 years age difference, because I felt like I didn't really care what they looked like or their age. They were just typically more mature, and I felt like I could just relate more than I could with guys who were my age. I thought that they were just stupid and dumb, and I just really had no desire to date anybody my age. Well, here I was going through life not really feeling any type of feelings for anybody, and honestly feeling like that was probably normal, because it just, to me, it felt like, well, I just haven't met that person yet. So when I meet that person, I am gonna feel all of those things. And eventually I did, but it was not at all in the way that I had expected.
Rachel!
What?
Don't forget to tell them about your hair.
Yeah, I'm filming right now.
Yeah, just do it now.
Did you guys know I have my own hairline? It is the absolute thickest hairpiece on the market, takes 60 seconds to put in, and the link is in the description box below. Now, let's get back to the story. There was a girl who came into our friend group. I had met her through friends of friends, and she was just the most incredible person that I had ever met. I mean, she was beautiful, and she was funny, and she just had all of the things that I felt like made you want to be close to somebody. I mean, from the second that I met her, it was like this magnetism, like I wanted to be around her all the time. And it wasn't because I wanted to be her. I had felt that plenty of times with friends that, I was quote unquote, I wouldn't say jealous. I think sure, probably aspects of that, but it was more like I want to be like them. But with her was different. It's not like I wanted to have her qualities. Like I just wanted her. I wanted to be around her all the time. And that was the very first time that I had ever felt that for anybody, guy or girl, in any of my friend groups. And something really big happened that made me have kind of an epiphany. I had a dream one night that I was kissing her. And what freaked me out so much is it wasn't like just one of those dreams. You know how sometimes you have weird dreams and like you wake up and you're like, oh, that was a weird dream, but like you kind of brush it off because you don't feel like it actually means anything in your life. But for me, it was different because I woke up and I was like, oh crap. Like I wish that dream was a reality. And that was a really, really scary part. And the very first time I had to admit to myself, Rachel, I think that you might be attracted to girls. See, there was nobody in my life that I could go to about these feelings because I was still very religious and still very devout in my church. And so this really messed me up on the inside. And then soon I started kind of pulling back. I didn't want to be around her anymore, which felt like a kind of a heartbreak because she was everything that I wanted to be around. But I felt like I couldn't. It was really hard for me. I felt like I was really awkward around her all of a sudden, and I didn't know how to interact anymore. Fast forward to New Year's. I hadn't been seeing her as much, but all of our friend group was going to a New Year's Eve party, and all of my friends had their boyfriends, and me and her were the only ones who were single there. But it was still a really fun party. We, were just hanging out with friends, doing the countdown, and midnight came. And as it's counting down to midnight, all of our friends are kissing their boyfriends, right, when it strikes midnight. And all of a sudden she looks at me, and she's a little bit tipsy at this point. She'd had a little or a lot of champagne. And she said, "Screw it, friends can kiss too. Happy New Year, Rachel." And then she kissed me. And it was like electricity, sparks. It was all of the things really that you imagine when you feel like you have that kiss with somebody that you really care about. And it was insane because it only lasted, 2 seconds. Like literally, it was pretty much a peck. It was just a peck, really. But for me, it was like, it was the closest I'd ever felt in my life to, feeling something like that. But again, I was extremely religious and thought it doesn't matter. I can have these feelings, but at the end of the day, I can't pursue a relationship with her. And she wouldn't have even wanted to with me. I mean, we truly were only friends. When she kissed me, you're probably like, oh, it's because she was feeling it. Like, absolutely no. She's like 110%. Had no feelings toward me romantically. We were just really good friends. And a few months after that, actually, I went on a Mormon mission for my church, which is an 18-month-long service trip. Basically, you're just teaching people about Jesus, and you're wanting them to learn more about the church and become a part of the church. And the thing about that is that you can never do this alone. It always has to be, guys with guys and girls with girls. So you 24/7 have to have it's called a companion, which basically is just another missionary with you all the time. You live with them, you proselyte with them, you're with them like, twins stuck together. You have to be within sight and sound of each other literally 24/7. And even though I never developed any feelings or attraction for any of my companions, what it did show me was what it was like to live with a woman all of the time. And I loved it. I loved it because I honestly truly felt like I connected so much more with girls than with guys. Didn't really like guys, thought they were messy, dirty, annoying. And I just obviously loved all of my companions, so it showed me, oh my gosh, like I could really do this. Like I could have an attraction to girls. I could live with a woman. I'd much rather raise a family. Whoa, where'd my head go? However, really shortly after my mission, I was hanging out with some people and I met this guy, and he was really cute. He met the part of the attraction that I had that I'd always had as, wow, he's really good looking. And so we went out on a date, and I expected it to be no different than other dates. I expected we'd probably make out and it would be okay, but it wouldn't be like amazing or anything, and that I wouldn't really connect with him super well. But he really surprised me because we were so similar in so many ways and connected on a level that I hadn't ever connected really with anybody before. And maybe that's kind of narcissistic of me to be like, oh, he was exactly like me and that's why I liked him, but it is what it is. And when we did end up kissing, which was our first date, it felt really sparky, I guess is the only way I can put it. I felt those, fireworks. I felt like all those feelings that I felt like you were supposed to have about somebody. And all of a sudden, as we continued dating, I understood what all my friends were talking about, saying, oh, it's, so hard not to go too far with somebody. I'm like, yeah, I get it. It's really hard. And finally, I was like, oh my gosh, I feel this with somebody. And not just with somebody, but with a guy. And it was the very first time in my life that I had ever actually truly fallen in love. I knew I had to lock that down quick because I didn't want him running away on me or deciding he didn't want to be with me anymore, because I'm like, listen, you're the only guy that I've ever felt this way with. So it's you or bust. I knew that I wanted to be with him forever. And so 8 months after officially dating, we got married. And come to find out into our marriage, like I'd had little questions about things, only because part of what I loved about his personality is that he was really eccentric and funny, and he dressed different, and he didn't care what people thought. So I'd had maybe tiny thoughts of, I don't know if he's 100% straight, but we'd never had that conversation. I'd never told him anything about anything that I'd felt, probably a little dishonest going into marriage. But eventually he came to me and he told me that he had feelings for guys. And of course he expected that would be kind of a big deal to me, but honestly I was really relieved because I was like, oh my gosh, don't worry, me too. Like really, truly, that's how it went. And it was amazing to take our marriage to a totally different point, because at that point we had both felt like, we share 95% of who we are with this person, but we both hadn't shared 100% of who we are, which is really important to be able to feel like there are no secrets. And even if it's not like a secret, some people say, well, if you're not ever going to act on it, why do you need to share that? And I think for him to tell me that was just in being transparent and being honest. And he didn't want to feel like there was anything that he was hiding. And I was so grateful that he shared that with me so that I didn't have to feel like I was hiding anything about myself. And, he gave me the permission to share that about each other on a public format so that we could help. I don't want to say help, but at least we could show that you're not messed up or broken, or there's nothing wrong with you if you like the same sex. Lucky for us, we both are extremely attracted to each other, and so I hate when people say like, oh, you guys are just gonna go be swingers now or cheat on each other, because in the same way that I can see a guy and think he's attractive, I'm not gonna cheat on him just because I think he's hot. In the same way that he's not gonna cheat on me because he sees another woman that he thinks is hot. So it's just a respect thing. It's not even about sexuality. It's just, do I respect this person enough to not cheat on them with whoever that is, guy or girl? And we have that mutual respect, right? So it's not something that we even think about. I don't even want to entertain the idea because I'm so happy with him. I don't want to change the relationship that we have. We've only ever been with each other. And I think that that's something really special, and I want to keep that. But I just want to be able to be more open about all of this, because being a member of the church that I was in, even myself feeling these feelings, I always felt like I had to not be as accepting or understanding, or when people would say that there wasn't a place for them in the church anymore because they were gay and they didn't want to marry somebody that they weren't attracted to. It's so hard because on one hand you completely sympathize with them and you're like, I understand, but you don't want to feel like you're going against the church's teachings. And so now that I'm not in the church anymore, I feel so much peace being able to say you should love who you love, because that's not something that you can control. And to be honest, it takes so much pressure off of having children, because always in the back of my mind I wondered, what if my son or daughter comes to me and says, Mom, I'm gay. I can't be with a girl or with a guy. I always was so terrified and had anxiety 10, 15 years in the future of what am I going to do if that happens? How am I going to stay in the church and tell my child, no, you should love who you love? It was so hard to think about for me. And so now I feel this peace of whatever my children are, whoever they decide to love, whatever they decide to be. I don't care if they want to be a kitchen chair. What if you want to identify as a pillow? I don't care. I just want my kids to be able to know that they're safe and that they're loved. And, with me and my husband, we're going to have that ability to really firsthand relate to that. So I feel really at peace with that. I just wanted to share this because I don't think that there should be any taboos about this. It's possible to, be bisexual and be in a really healthy, closed marriage that nobody else comes into. Not judging if you do, but for me, we're not going to. So I hope that this was a little bit helpful for you. So much. I know this isn't typically what I cover on my channel, but if you like things like hair and beauty, things like that, be sure to like and subscribe, and you can follow all that content later. Bye.